Alright, yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the CFmoto channel. We are taking a little ride today. We're going to stop and get some fuel. We're getting a little close to E. But the main reason that a lot of y'all are here today probably is the description of this video. Today, I want to take you through the 5 things that I most enjoy about this motorcycle. So stay tuned, let me get some gas, we'll find a cool spot to hang out, and then we'll dive into it. Alright everybody, so here we are. We're all fueled up. We found a little bit of a secluded spot here at a cool state park. So what better time to go through and chat about my 5 favorite things that I like about the CFmoto 450 SS. Before we dive into any of that, I do want to just give a shout out to everybody that has watched my videos, all of the people that have subscribed to my channel. It is definitely appreciated. This is something that I just do for fun. I bought this bike back in April. I got a GoPro camera around the same time. I enjoy talking about the bike. I enjoy motorcycles and vehicles in general, so I figured why not combine the two and just get some cool, fun content out there for others to enjoy as well. So again, shout out to everybody that's watched and subscribed to the channel. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the 5 things that I most enjoy about this motorcycle. Coming in at number 1, the elephant in the room, so to speak. The best thing about this bike, in my opinion, and probably in a lot of others, is going to be the price. At an MSRP in the United States at $5,499, the value that you get with this bike for that price is very, very difficult to beat. There's really not much else to say. For $5,500, you are getting a full-size motorcycle that you can ride around town, you can hop on the highways, you can cruise, interstates at 75, 85 miles an hour without a problem. You have big brand name brakes, you got big brand name electronics with Bosch, obviously the brakes being Brembo. I just don't know what else you can ask for $5,500. So quick story, last year I bought myself a Kawasaki Z125, brand new. That was about $3,400. That bike topped out at about 60 miles per hour, 4-speed transmission. Cool bike, very nice, fun little thing, but really nothing special about it. For $2,000 more, this machine, this bike, is night and day difference. Now obviously they're in completely different categories from each other. You have one being a mini moto and this one really being more of a full-size everyday motorcycle, but still, for $2,000 more, what you're getting with this bike for that $5,500 MSRP is pretty insane. I'm not going to spend the time to go through some of those details right now, but that's the number 1 thing I like about this bike. Let's go ahead and dive into number 2. The second thing that I like about this bike the most, that I don't feel like anybody is really giving any credit to, and it's probably not just with this bike specifically, but probably bikes and vehicles in general. The paint on this bike is done extremely well. Now you might just be thinking, oh, that's dumb, it's just paint. Well, no, it's not just paint, right? A lot of manufacturers do tend to cheap out, and sometimes you might think bikes are painted and they could just be wrapped, or they could just be dipped in some type of a compound or whatever. These bikes are painted, and they are painted with a quality paint. So this color is called Nebula Black. So when I think about the word nebula, the first thing that comes into my mind is space, right? And kind of like that galaxy look. You know, you get some of the blues, the greens, the purples, so on and so forth. Now, you're not going to be able to see it in the video. The bike is actually pretty dirty right now, so definitely need to find some time to give it a bath. But with all that being said, see, I'm looking at it right now. So in the white here, it's in the black too, but it's definitely easier to see in the white. Again, you're not going to be able to see it in the video, so you just have to trust me, and hopefully you'll be able to go check one of these out yourself and see it for yourself in person. But anyway, there is like a sparkle in the paint that gives you those blues, those greens, those yellowy orange colors, and it gives you that nebula or that galaxy sensation. I just don't know how to describe it. It is beautiful though, right? Like, it's not like they just slapped some white and some black paint on this bike, called it Nebula, and moved on. No, they took the time to put some sparkle in the paint and really truly make it stand out. I'm telling you, if you can go see this bike in person, take a look, a really close look at the paint, and trust me when I say you will appreciate it. I can promise you, just the overall finish on this bike when it comes to the paint, it's special. It's definitely not what you would think that you'd be getting. Again, we circle back to that MSRP price of $5,500. You were just truly getting more than you think you were going to. So that's definitely the number 2 thing I love about this bike. Okay, so moving right along to number 3. Definitely trying to get this done before I run out of sunlight, which is happening very quickly. So the number 3 thing that I liked the most about this bike was actually also on my list of top 5 things I felt like people needed to be mindful of, and that's going to be the TFT display. So let's go ahead and turn this on. Check out this cool little animation that you get at the beginning. And the reason that I say this is one of my favorite things about the bike is because it really is one of the biggest selling points of the bike. This display, even though it does have some quirks to it that I've called out in my other video, so go check that out if you haven't already, but the display itself truly is really great. It's full color, the colors are vivid, they're bright. Even on the sunniest of days, I can hop on this bike and I can always see all of my gauges. The colors stand out, the greens, the oranges, the reds, the whites, they all stand out so much. You can see everything perfectly clear. And then not only that, not only did the display look good, but it's got the function that you want, right? You can go into here and, you know, you can scroll through. You can obviously connect it to your Bluetooth. Now again, that's mentioned in my other video. Go check it out. I'm going to skip all of that for now, but you can come down into the settings, right? You can go to subject style. You can change between 2 different styles. So you have that style, the classics, and the concision. So you can change the overall style of your home screen and what that looks like. You can change, obviously, from miles per hour to kilometers and some of that stuff. What else can you do from here? Change your brightness. Now look, I'm not even up all the way. I'm on the 3rd out of 5 bars, and I guarantee there's never been a time where I couldn't see this display perfectly. You have trip reset. You have an overspeed alarm. So if you're somebody you don't want to go above 75, 85 miles an hour, you set a little overspeed alarm. You get a little notification on the screen when you hit that speed, let you know, hey, you need to slow the hell down, buddy. Time settings, gear change reminder, same thing. If you're maybe in your break-in period, or for whatever reason you just don't want to go above a certain RPM, you just set your gear change reminder. Mine's just set at 8,000 RPMs for whatever reason. That's just where it's set right now. So when you get to 8,001 RPMs, you'll get a little indicator on the screen. It'll just give you a reminder, hey, go ahead and shift up. So you get some of these cool little things. You have an information page, miles info, some service info. So all in all, right, it's not like it has all sorts of crazy things, but compared to a lot of other bikes, and again, circling back to that number one thing I mentioned, compared to other bikes at this price point, and even bikes that are thousands of dollars more, what you get from this display is awesome. You gotta love it. It looks great. It works for the most part. So no complaints. Definitely the number 3 reason why I love this bike. All right, so moving on along, we got number 4. Number 4 might be a little surprising, and again, I think it's going to just circle right back to that number 1 reason of the price, right? Let me go ahead and turn these lights off so I don't accidentally kill the battery. Number 4 is going to be the overall fit, finish, and quality of this bike. So when I say that, what I mean is I've had this bike torn apart pretty good. I've had the windshield off, I've had the fairings off, I've had the winglets off, I've had the front wheel off, the brake calipers, the brake disc, the tone wheel, some of these covers, the front end the rear brake reservoir covers. I've had the exhaust off, I've had the whole back wheel set up off, I've had the front chain cover off, the grips, the levers. I've torn this bike apart, right? I've had the seats off, I've had the top part of the gas tank off, just doing little odds and ends things to it, and every single nut and bolt and plastic clip that I messed with, none of them broke, none of them stripped, none of them were loosey-goosey, right? The plastic clips, when you go to remove them, they all feel solid. They're thick. They're where they need to be. They don't feel like they're going to break. None of them did break. And what's even better is when you go to put everything back together, everything just fits. So all of the holes are aligned. You don't have to force any of the plastics into place. They just kind of slide in. They go right where they need to. You get nice, firm, crisp sounds when the plastics lock into place. All of the bolts, you know, they go in. None of them felt like they were going to strip on me. They can get nice and snug, so you can really sense that they are tight enough. Or obviously, if you're torquing them, if you have some of the torques specifications, you can go that route. But again, right, as I mentioned, we circle back to that number 1 reason of the overall, of the price of this bike. For a $5,500 bike, coming from a Chinese manufacturer, right, you just expect there to be something that's not quite right. And you try and find things, you try and find reasons, and that's an easy one, right? You're like, oh, well, the nuts and the bolts that they used, or the plastics, or, oh, wait till you start tearing it apart and everything starts breaking. You don't get that with this bike, and I am pleasantly surprised by that. So, take it from me, it is 100% a good thing to have a bike that has a good quality to the overall fit and finish of the product. You will be rewarded when it comes time to doing your oil change. Speaking of oil changes, there's already a magnetic oil drain plug in the oil pan. So just things like that, they go above and beyond, in my opinion, and really put some emphasis on that MSRP of $5,500, and just kind of blow your mind a little bit more, like, how did they do it? So there it is, number 4. let's go ahead and hop into that last thing. So coming in at number 5, I feel like I can't talk about this bike and not, or I should say I can't talk about my 5 favorite things and not include the exhaust. So one of the big things that attracted me to this bike in the first place, you know, obviously when I was in the market, just like a lot of other people were looking at things like an R3 and a Ninja 400 and so on and so forth, what I should say really caused me to gravitate to this bike was the fact that the motor was built with a 270 degree crank instead of the typical 180 degree crank that you see in most of the bikes of this class. It offers such a unique sound. To me, in my opinion, it sounds 20 times better. It's just a little bit more aggressive. It sounds more like a motorcycle. I love it. So instead of talking about it, let's go ahead and get a little sound clip. Fire our fuel pumps up. I'm sure at this point everybody's heard some sound clips for this, but why not get you another one? So let's go ahead, let's step away. Now this is obviously a warm start. The bike has been ridden, so we are not hearing a cold start right now. Now one thing I always laugh at when people do exhaust clips, they love sticking the camera in the exhaust pipe for some reason. Like, hear my exhaust, brother! It's so loud! And I don't know why people do that, because all it does is sound like distorted shit. But so this is, you know, from probably about 6 feet away. This is the tone that you get from the bike idling. So I will go ahead and shut the hell up for a minute and let you hear it. And we'll just walk up and give it a couple small revs. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop the helmet off. I'm going to set the helmet on the ground, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a lap here in this parking lot. That way you can get an idea of what the exhaust sounds like while there is some load on the motor. So I'm just going to put this out as a disclaimer. I obviously have my jacket, my gloves, my helmet is on my head right now. When I'm doing this quick little test, I am not putting these things back on. I do ride with all of my equipment except for pants. I do wear jeans, but I have my boots, I have my jacket, I have my gloves, I have my helmet. So I suggest that everybody wears all of those things, but I'm going to take it off just to get this little clip for you. So here we go. So that is it. That is my top 5 favorite things that I like about the CFmoto 450 SS. Hopefully everybody enjoys this video. Please feel free to drop a comment if you have any suggestions about videos you would like to see about this bike specifically, or if you have any questions about anything I went over, again, feel free to drop a comment. I appreciate all of you, and I'll check you in the next one. Later.